It is a miracle that you are here today. We do not take for granted your intentionality. Can you imagine what the difference we could make in this community if every one of these people here today do just what Vicki talked about? Choose one. Instead of getting caught up in numbers, sometimes we just say one man, one change, one generation. All of you are leaders. If you influence one person, you're a leader. Now the decision is what kind of leader, are you going to be? When we moved to Texas, my life changed forever. And with a knock on the door one day, there stood my friend Mike Gibson, and he asked me this game-changing question, just 6 words. Do you want to play football? Changed my life. Coaches have always been a powerful influence on my life. Their impact was immeasurable. I remember I wanted to quit one day in 7th grade. He wouldn't let me. Another life-changing day, Coach Komeyer told me just 4 words. Get back in line. But even with all their charisma and powerful inspiration over me, I cannot see a situation, as much as I loved them and respected them, that I would ever been to a point that I would literally drop everything, leaving all things familiar, and follow them. This is why I think the story of the disciples, as Jesus gathers his team, his people, the 12, his huddle, is so hard to comprehend, so hard to understand how these men could literally drop their nets and follow Jesus. Thank you, God, for those first disciples. Jesus knew what he was doing. Jesus was embarking on a mission that he could have done on his own. But he teaches us all that ministry and discipleship is not just for consumers, but for contributors as well. In Mark 1, we're familiar with this. As he was passing along the Sea of Galilee, he saw Simon and Andrew and Simon's brother. They were casting a net into the sea, and since they were fishermen, 2 words plus 8 more. Follow me. Follow me. And I will make you fish for people. And immediately they dropped their nets and followed him. In 2016, I walked out June 10th away from the high school principalship. I'm a recovering and repurposed high school principal. That's what I tell people. And into a new role as the minister of discipleship at a church called Wildwood United Methodist, literally only 7 miles down the road from my school. From one building to another, from one passion to another. So ever since that day, 8 years ago, I have been on a quest that I call the discipleship inquiry. It's a wrestling of sorts. It's a questioning of your current premises. Have you ever believed something all your life and all of a sudden somebody said something that hit you and you go, oh my gosh, there's more than one way to think about this. That's transformation. God had my attention. This idea of true discipleship and what it really means challenged my premises. You see, as a minister of discipleship, it was very much like my purpose here today to help set the table for the visioning for discipleship leading to becoming a discipler. To disciple, you must be a disciple yourself. Discipling begins with decision. That would be the first step into discipleship. By definition of Jesus, you must make the decision to be a disciple first and then follow him, becoming a discipler. In Luke 14:25-33, Jesus tells the crowd some very concrete instructions and warnings of the cost of being a disciple. Jesus is saying, consider ahead of time whether or not you are willing. We talked about being a willing partner, participant, to become his follower. It will take everything you have and more, Jesus says. Discipleship will figure in every future decision of your life. The will of God will be first in your priority from now on. Okay, so I did a little research with some of my best friends. Pastor Seth says discipleship is walking with other believers in the process of becoming Christ-like. So I surveyed some of my closest pastor friends. Greg Johnson, empowering people to understand and practice the way of Jesus. Andrew Thompson, a very young, new pastor, right out of college, maybe a little bit, or seminary, a little bit longer definition, a little bit more academic. But in the Christian sense, discipleship is the task of building up people for the sake of God's glory, whether that building up entails spiritual guidance, physical nourishment, etc. And then my pastor, Red Ainsley, discipleship, the ongoing work of God's grace, wherein we are transformed to follow in the ministry of Jesus by learning how we live our lives, shaped by the teaching of Jesus as we bear witness to the work of Jesus in the world. So here, very simply, these 4 slides: walking with, empowering people, building up, and bearing witness. Every single person in here can do those things. We can all do those things. And for discipleship to happen, we just have to be ordinary believers with extraordinary faith. It's not just those that are set aside. It's not just for the pastor. He can't do it by himself. The team can't do it by himself. It is a call. It's a great commission to go forth, to send out. It should be, again, an outcry of our faith, an evident outcry. All it takes are ordinary believers with extraordinary faith. It is not just for those set aside. Again, consumer versus contributor. So here's a question for you. What keeps you from moving from a Christian believer to the Christian disciple, to becoming the discipler? Do you have the resilience? Are you relentless? Are you a contagious Christian? You know who they are. You could all point to them in this room right now. Who, when they walk in the room, you know that Jesus Christ is on their face and in their heart. And you want what they have. As you consider how you value your time, as you consider what you will do with your wild and one precious life, as you consider the temples of your heart, what is the next step for you? What's the next step right where you are?